Thank you. Thank you, Senator Mitchell. Mr. Canella.
Well, I already had a chance to meet with Mr. Henning. I was able to ask a few questions. And it was really, I wasn't questioning him with whether I was going to support him or not, because I already knew that I was. I've had a good working relationship with Mr. Henning since he's been in this position, with a department that I really struggled with my first couple of years in this office. It was a dysfunctional office, struggled with computer upgrades, struggled with reaching out to constituents or when people called. And most of the calls that I received in my office were about not being able to get through EDD. And we have to understand this is when somebody's very scared, they've been laid off, they've been injured, they don't know how they're going to pay their bills, and then they could not get through to EDD. And you know, the 5% call or whatever it was, 5 or 7% that it was, if it was even that, I mean, nobody could get through. And I have seen a significant turnaround. We get hardly any calls relating to EDD. And I think it's largely because of the leadership that you've provided this organization since you've been there. Also, you know, economy's getting a little better, and hopefully there's not as many people unemployed. But we still have a lot of people in California that are in need. And again, I appreciate all your hard work that you've done with that department. I've had some personal help from Patrick since he's been in this position. There was a call center in Atwater. Atwater's in Merced County that has very high unemployment. It's really been struggling. And this call center had about 400 jobs that one day they're working, and then a week later they're not going to be working. And so I called Patrick and just wanted to find out what resources were available to provide assistance to all these displaced workers. And within the week, he had folks down there working with these employees that were going to lose their job, and really gave them a lot of hope and provided a lot of help. In addition to that, he was able to send a lot of money down to the county to help these folks to get them retrained. And that was, you know, it was close to $1 million, I believe. And then we also have some issues with a gaming facility in Madera County, another county that's been hit pretty hard. It's been closed for a lot of reasons, but the workers have been displaced, and Patrick was able to get a lot of money to them as well. So he's certainly got my support, and really he's my go-to person on anything relating to EDD. We text all the time, we call all the time, and you've done a terrific job with EDD, and I look forward to working with you over the next 4 years.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you very much, Senator Canella. Madam Vice Chair, Ms. Holder.
Well, Patrick was very generous with his time, and so we had a really robust discussion, and I don't have a lot of questions to ask. I'll just sort of summarize some of the thoughts for the record. But one of the things that I would like to state up front is when I first came in, it was the same thing. EDD, and it was such a desperate situation that it just absolutely ripped your heart out. We had so many calls, and my own personnel couldn't even get through either. So people couldn't get through. They were then calling us. They were in overwhelming numbers, and then we couldn't get through. And you know, Patrick just has made it way better. I don't know how he has, because once it got way better, I basically didn't call him anymore. And I appreciated the fact that he just must have kept motoring along, because my people were getting help. So that's my thing. I'm actually kind of afraid not to vote for Patrick. I know there's other issues out there, because if it goes back to what it was, I don't think I can stand it. The next thing is that, you know, our area has had double-digit losses over the past several months based on oil prices going down, the drought, the continuing problems of inland area, and the only place I have to ask for help is from this department. And as I said, I'm not somebody that calls if I don't have a problem, so I don't have an ongoing relationship with Mr. Henning, but he very quickly said that he would find ways to mobilize people. Like in my area, you know, we had one company alone that said they were going to lay off 4,000 people, and that was just one of several. And he said he could find ways to do satellites to ramp it up to help and then come back. And I really appreciate that kind of stuff. That's really hard for governmental service to do. I used to be in governmental service. I know what that is. It's really hard to do. So he has a plan for that, and I appreciate that. And if you think that's going to change, please call me immediately.
No, ma'am.
The last thing is, and this might clear some things up for Senator De Leon, in that the new Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act increases the amount of funds the state can use for state-level initiatives. And so, of course, my question was, do you have any plans to utilize this increase in federal funds to improve or expand EDD employment programs to veterans, since I have 5 bases in my district? And I thought it was quite clever. Mr. Henning basically said, gee, if you would go up there and meet me, sure, we'll do something. And so he's harnessed all of us to help with our problems. And I thought that was pretty creative, and it sounds like that he has offered the same deal to some others on the board. So at this point, I'm going to have some real challenges with EDD. And I don't want there to be any kind of break in continuity or services. And I don't want there to be somebody who has a lot of new ideas that don't work at all. So while I'm sure I should give you a lot more praise, Mr. Henning, because you did cure a really bad problem when I first came in. I'm just going to say that I have developed faith in your ability to weather the system, and I appreciate it. And going forward, I am willing to support your candidacy.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Last but not least, Ms. Leyva.
Hello, Patrick. It was very nice to see you yesterday. It had been a long time. I enjoyed meeting with you, and as many others, very much appreciate the way you've turned around EDD. And when I complimented you on that and told you what an impressive job you did, you were very humble in your response and said that the state legislature had helped, as had all the folks that are employed under you, which I think speaks to your character and why you have been so successful. I just have one question. In my former life as the president of UFCW Local 1428, we had a difficult time making sure our members knew about FMLA. And how can you at the department make sure people know that that's available to them?
Thank you, Senator. And I did appreciate my time with you as well. Again, frankly, I really have been blessed with the full support of this administration and the legislative support that we've received. And in this case, again, have had that support. The governor has approved in his last year's budget a few $1 million set aside to go at this exact issue so that we continue to reach out to folks to let them know how great this program really is as people are going through that transition, whether that be through the birth of a child and trying to take some time for bonding, or to take care of a sick relative in their time of need. We have to do a better job. My department's embarked on an education campaign to talk to doctors as well as the hospitals to make sure that at that point when somebody comes in and is in need, they know what benefits the state offers. I think it's unique somewhat in state government that we do that type of outreach, but I think it is necessary. We have recently contracted with an entity to do a survey so that we can get some matrix around how we reach out and how we can best communicate. This is a caring program, but we do need to make sure that we target and we need to make sure we hit the folks that need these services better. So that's the first step. Hopefully by the end of the year, we'll have that report and be able to start reaching out to different community groups with those monies that have been appropriated.
Terrific. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Okay. Mr. Henning, I think universally everyone feels very strongly that you're very well prepared, for the position. It's a tough position, given the the issues that you articulated, the issues that the members here identified. Obviously, the issue with the UI insolvency issue, issues IT projects that I think beset so many other state agencies. Obviously, not just EDD, claim processing, just customer service, and culture. Right, changing culture is really critical. And how can you meet these challenges with obviously limited general funding as well too, given the gargantuan responsibilities and challenges that we all have collectively also too, and a whole variety of issues that are very important to California. But hearing from the members here, I mean, I think that everyone feels universally in a bipartisan fashion that you're up to this challenge. What we're going to do now is we're going to bring up those members who are in support of your nomination. If you can come up, and I'd ask be very brief for those who wish to come up. Those in support of Mr. Patrick Henning's confirmation. I'd ask you to take I think 30 seconds would be great.
Mr. Chairman, members, Jose Mejia, California State Council Laborers, and I will be brief. And it makes it difficult for me to be a little brief because obviously because I've been one to have the pleasure to work with Mr. Henning extremely closely, probably a lot closer than many of my friends and colleagues that are in the room this afternoon. He's certainly a man of integrity, a lot of respect, comes from a well-respected family with a lot of integrity within the community, and he certainly understands the value of all those in need. And as with the comments that were being made earlier having to do with some of the changes as move forward, it certainly is a testament of what he's continuing to do in the future. I ask for his confirmation respectfully.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mejia.
Mr. Chairman and members, Dave Ackerman representing the Associated General Contractors. We're the largest construction employer association in the state. I had the pleasure of working with Patrick as a committee consultant, as a legislative advocate, appointments secretary in the governor's office, and now in his capacity at EDD. And I tell you, his professionalism and competency and also personal friendship will enable him to do an excellent job. We collaborated between management and labor like no other group in the state of California to create jobs and really provide for the worker, and he will continue to do that in this job, and I urge your confirmation.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ackerman. Mr. Brown.
Craig Brown, California Statewide Law Enforcement Association. We represent the investigators that work at EDD. They've had very good interactions and are very pleased to be working for Mr. Henning.
Thank you so much. Next witness in support.
Mr. Pro Tem, members of the committee, Michael Shaw with the California Manufacturers and Technology Association. Just wanted to express support for Mr. Henning as director of EDD. I know him to be an individual who cares a great deal about California. I think those sentiments came out clearly in your meetings with him as well. Also is one who has been very pragmatic in bringing people together to find a solution. I was also asked by the California Chamber of Commerce to express their support as well.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Chair and members, Pat Moran with Aaron Reed and Associates, representing the Peace Officers Research Association of California, California Association of Professional Scientists, Professional Engineers in California Government, and the California Association of Highway Patrolmen, all here in support of Patrick's appointment and encourage his confirmation by you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Moran. Mr. Giroux.
Mr. Chairman and members, Bob Giroux on behalf of the International Union of Painters and Allied Trades, District Councils 36 and 16. We believe that Mr. Henning is eminently qualified and will serve the people of California with the same distinguished honor and service as his father and his grandfather before him. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next witness in support.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, Mitch Seaman with the California Labor Federation, also here in strong support of this appointment. From a worker perspective, it's hard to overstate the importance of this agency, whether it's a worker who is trying to take time to bond with a new baby or one who's injured so badly that they can't work, or most often one who's lost their job through no fault of their own. What we really need at the head of this agency is someone who not only has the competence and the experience to take over the agency, but also someone who genuinely cares for what happens to workers when they're in these tough, vulnerable spots. And every interaction we've had with Mr. Henning so far during his year at the head of the agency has confirmed that not only does he have the kind of competence and work ethic that we like to see, but also someone who seems to genuinely care for workers who are in this situation. So we urge your support.
Thank you. Next witness in support.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the committee, Jeremy Smith here on behalf of the State Building and Construction Trades Council, also in support. Happy to support my friend and former colleague for this position. It's an excellent choice. Thank you.
Thank you. Next witness in support.
Mr. Chair, members, Deanna Johnston on behalf of the California Nurses Association. We too are pleased to support Mr. Henning's appointment. He's just been so easy to work with in the variety of ways we've worked with him over the years, and we look forward to continuing our relationship with him at EDD.
Thank you. Next witness in support.
Mr. Chair and members, Brian Allison on behalf of the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, also in strong support of Mr. Henning's appointment. And we believe that the wealth of experience that he brings to the job is a perfect fit for this agency. We urge your strong support for him as well.
Thank you. Next witness in support.
Good afternoon, Lisa Rodriguez with the Guaca Group on behalf of the California Association of White Grain Growers. In support.
Thank you. Thank you. Next witness in support.
Good afternoon, Chair, members. Christopher Castrillo on behalf of the California Faculty Association, representing over the 25,000 librarians, nurses, librarians, coaches, professors of the CSU system, in strong support of Mr. Henning's confirmation.
Thank you very much. Next witness in support.
Mr. Chair and members, Matthew Harger with the California Business Properties Association. We represent commercial real estate. We're in strong support. I've also been asked by CBIA, does residential real estate, to pass along their support also. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next witness in support.
Thank you, Mr. Pro Tem and members. Tristan Brown of the California School Employees Association, here in strong support, mostly due to Mr. Henning's amazing intelligence and dedication and how he handles the
He chuckled when you said amazing intelligence.
But in strong support.
The humility is very impressive.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Pro Tem, members of the committee, Christy Baumer representing the California Professional Firefighters. Also very pleased to be here in support of Patrick Henning, and I share the troubles of our fathers, pass on to the kids as I'm working on that as well. We urge your confirmation.
Thank you. Next witness.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Justin Panzal on behalf of the California State Association of Electrical Workers, the Western State Council of Sheet Metal Workers, the California State Pipe Trades Council, and the Elevator Constructors Union. Thrilled to be here today as a colleague and a friend of Patrick's to urge his confirmation today. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Any other witnesses in support? Any other witnesses in support? Seeing none, those in opposition? Also seeing no opposition. I think it's going to be unanimous without a doubt. I think I've already made my statement. Why don't we ask for a motion? We have a motion that's been made by Ms. Mitchell. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Canella? Aye. Canella, aye. Leyva? Aye. Leyva, aye. Mitchell? Aye. Mitchell, aye. Fuller? Aye. Fuller, aye. DeLeon?
Aye.
DeLeon, aye.
Mr. Henning, your confirmation has been approved by the Rules Committee on a 5-0 vote. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah.
Madam Secretary, we're going to go back to file item number 1. We're going to lift the call so our Vice Chair, Ms. Fuller, may add on. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Fuller? Aye. Fuller, aye.
Okay, that motion passes and is finalized on a 5-0 vote. Colleagues, we're going to work through our agenda, file items number 3 through 19. That is governor appointments that are not subject to confirmation. These are members of the California Veterans Board, B, C, D, and E. Again, files item number 3 through 19. Madam Vice Chair.
I would just like to maybe pull one off for discussion.
Okay.
And that would be item 4.
Okay. We'll pull item 4 temporarily. We'll go file items number 3 minus 4. We'll pick up with 5. And we'll proceed through 19. Is that look fine? Okay. So we'll pick up at 5 and we'll work all the way through. So file items number 3 through 19 minus file item number 4. So Madam Vice Chair, do we have I'm sorry, do we have a motion? We have a motion by Ms. Mitchell. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Canella? Aye. Canella, aye. Leyva? Aye. Leyva, aye. Mitchell? Aye. Mitchell, aye. Fuller? Aye. Fuller, aye. DeLeon?
Aye.
DeLeon, aye.
Those file items pass on a 5-0 vote. We will go to file item number 4, the request from Senator Jerry Hill of BNP to waive Senate Rule 22.5 for 5 specific sunset bills. So that is file item number 4. And from what I know, Madam Vice Chair, is it's always been the custom and practice for those chairs when they have to carry measures that are committee measures In this case, these are sunset measures. And I believe, I don't know the full details, but the consultant on the Republican side opposed him carrying these bills, or the committee itself, BP, to carry it as a committee bill. So therefore, as a committee chair, he would have to incur those 5 sunset bills, which are committee bills, they're committee bills, BNP committee bills, they would have to count towards his own personal number of bills, and hence the request for the exemption, in this case, the waive of the Rule 22.5.
My question was, in the past, we've had people ask for more bills, and we usually give them to them. But generally, we give them to them when we're sure they're out. And so I'm not sure, so I need some factual information about this, but I'm under the impression that as of Friday, right now, he only has 11 bills, and so on Friday, it's unlikely he would get the need for that many more bills. So I'm wondering if we, if there's a problem with maybe having him come back when he's used his 39 bills and we give them to him then. I don't have a problem with him having extra bills. I know in the past we've had members ask for bills like once or twice, and in many cases, I mean, they were asking for a lot and they just never used them. So I don't know if we're pretty sure that he has more than 40 bills and they're ready to go by Friday, then I have no problem.
That I don't know off the top of my head. That I would doubt highly. He'd be a very busy person. He'd be very, very, very busy person. So I don't know. So it's a question of let's see. We may have.
Friday is a deadline for the
Okay. So we know that is the deadline for this coming Friday.
The bill introduction deadline.
But even, let's say, for example, he introduces 15 facts. That was 40 for a 2-year session. When he's not going to do 20 or not 40. So it's still, it's not June still. Yes, when he introduces bills next year. If he surpasses 40, then we can do that. Do we have to process when we committee bills?
I think we should give them to him and make him carry that many bills.
These cannot be committee bills because Republicans will not support them because we don't.
Senator Mitchell.
No. Senator Mitchell.
You may have the answer, but just as a follow-up to Senator Fuller's question, I guess I would also wonder if he would be in the same kind of trick bag, for the lack of a better term. Next year, if there are sunset measures that routinely come before his committee, he may be asking now because the next calendar year, when he may be inching closer to his limit of 40, he might be in the same position. See what I'm saying?
My understanding to your question, your statement, Ms. Mitchell, is there will be more bills coming down the pipeline on the sunset issue. Yeah. He's trying to get ahead of the curve, what it is too. And I don't know, honestly, the analysis or the perspective of the consultant, in this case of BNP, as to why. I think it has been custom and practice when you have committee bills that they don't count towards your, your batch per se to move forward with your measures.
And I guess I'm just not completely sure on the rules about this, but like if he wants to use those committee bills, but one of the caucus committee advisors doesn't want him to use one of those bills, he can go ahead anyway, can't he? I thought he could. No? Like, when does it? Yeah, okay, so what we're saying is he can't get agreement for those sunset bills, so he's going to have to carry himself. And he probably just found this out fairly recently. Okay.
And what I have here, so just informational more than anything here, is I think last year the custom and practice has been this rules committee for exemptions for committee chairs on that very same issue. File items 5 through 7, a request from Senator Correa, Senator Hill, Senator Ted Lieu, albeit it says here Senator Fuller was absent on those days. But there was unanimous vote. It was unanimous vote. We had Senator Curran Price, also to 4 sunset bills back in 2012. This was unanimous vote, bipartisan 5-0. And then again, Senator Curran Price, sunset bills, Senate Rule 22.5. This happens a lot with BMP, Chairman BP. This happens a lot in BP. So we have custom and practice as to allow for the exemption. So I would ask my colleagues in a bipartisan fashion to move forward with this measure.
I have no disagreement with either the author or the number of bills. I just think that I do remember having all those people come forward and ask, and we sort of made them justify by an explanation of what they were going to use it for, how many they had, and then if we all felt comfortable that that was something that they needed, and in this case it sounds like it is, then we can move forward with that. I certainly, wouldn't want someone's opportunity to move a sunset bill limited because they hadn't planned ahead or we didn't help them plan ahead.
What I can do is the following, Madam Vice Chair, is that I can, because these are specifically just sunset bills, nothing more, nothing less. These are ones in question, and we want to make sure they don't count towards his own personal allotment. That's important. I'd like to move this motion forward. I will personally have the conversation to make sure, obviously, with his future allocation, so we have that. So I want to make sure I satisfy your concern, and we want to make sure that we keep the custom and practice so we don't have a situation, obviously, where, it'll be a situation where no one wants to show up in BNP or chair BNP because it's like, I don't want these 10 sunset bills, and all of a sudden I got just 10 in my, in my list. So why don't we entertain a motion? There we go. We have a motion made by Ms. Connie Leyva. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Canella? Aye. Canella, aye. Leyva? Aye. Leyva, aye. Mitchell? Aye. Mitchell, aye. Fuller? Aye. Fuller, aye. DeLeon?
Aye.
DeLeon, aye.
Thank you very much, Madam Vice Chair. Measure passes on a 5-0 vote. We will go into executive session right now.